How you doing, everybody? Listen, I hope you're all well. It's Wednesday, it's the 20th of June 2012. It's around lunchtime. And I wanted to deal with something today that sort of popped up last week in my mind. And it's to do with really economics. So, a lot of people get bored with all this talk, but it's central to our whole way of life and central to our whole future as a country. So I just want to talk about two elements of it. And the two elements basically are, they're like twin foundations to a huge section of our GDP. Now I'm going to talk about this constantly so throughout this little video. So I just want to clarify what these are. There's two things, GDP and GNP. And basically one is gross domestic product, GDP, and what that is, it's the total output of our country, and that involves everybody who's in the country. That involves all the foreign multinationals and all of our national industry and everything else that we generate the wealth from over a period of 1 year. So that's everything that Ireland generates in 1 year is what's called our GDP. Okay, our gross domestic product. And then inside that we have a thing which is far more fundamental to Ireland, and we really should only be talking about Ireland in these terms. It's our gross national product, and that's what the paddies produce inside Ireland, the sell outside the world. Okay, and the reason that that's such of such importance for Ireland is, no, I don't believe there's any other country in the world. I mean, there may be one or two other countries in the world, but the difference between our GDP and our GNP is colossal. I'll give you an example. I've put the link up there to Central Statistics, and you can see for last year, we haven't got the figures out for this year, but for last year, approximately, our GDP was around about 160 billion. Okay, approximately. And our GNP was around about 128 billion. So the difference between the two is around about 32 billion. Now there's no, as I say, there's no other country and no other developed country in the world that has such a disparity. And what that means, what in reality, when you analyse that, what that is saying is that the multinationals, the foreign multinationals who are here, take that difference between our GDP and our GNP. That's their take out of our economy every year. Okay, that's it in crude terms. That is what goes on. So, and it rests on two things, and this is the key. All the figures are kind of secondary, but because it rests on two key elements, and these are kind of foundational elements for foreign multinationals to come into this country. Now you can hear all this bullshit, all this crapology from all these people about, oh, the Irish workforce, and they're so intelligent and they're so well educated, and listen, we're talking about capitalism. We're talking about multinational, international capitalism. They're only concerned about one thing. It's run by a group of people, not economists. It's run by accountants, and accountants are only concerned about one thing: the bottom fucking line. And the bottom line in Ireland is determined by two things. One, we have the lowest corporation tax in the world, probably. And secondly, we have, inside Ireland, we have a huge money laundering operation going on for that 32 billion euros every year that those foreign multinationals generate. So that money can be laundered and not returned. The vast majority of those companies are American companies, and they should be bringing that money back to America, but they don't. They launder it through our financial services centre down in Dublin, the Docklands of Dublin, because they have special licences down there, those commercial banks, that enable them to do that. So what's happening is essentially our government is participating in a giant money laundering operation on behalf of essentially American multinationals and foreign multinationals as well. But if you're an Irish indigenous company, you can't do that. No, no. You can't have an account down in a financial services centre and put the money offshore. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. But they can. They're allowed to do that. So the rest of two things, and these are like balustrades or like props that keep our whole economy completely artificial. That keep our economy devised by Charles Haughey, by the way. It's all devised by Charlie Haughey. All right. His last public statement was, before he retired, before he gave up the ghost as Taoiseach of this country, was, I hope I have served the state with some good. That's what he said. I hope I've been of some benefit to the state. Anyway, I digress with that. That's an aside. But the bottom line about it is, he drew up this scheme, and it's a scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's essentially a Ponzi scheme. Because if you interfere with either of those two things, if you interfere with the low corporation tax that we have, 12.5%, if you raise that, or if you say to those companies that are down in that financial services centre, have their accounts down there, you can't launder that money anymore down there. What do you think would happen? It'd be gone out of Ireland overnight. It'd be gone out of Ireland overnight. That is the primary reason that they're here. No other reason. All that stuff about Irish, having trained Irish people and, well, it's all balls. It's all nonsense. They're only here for those two reasons and those two reasons alone. Now, what does the Irish state gain out of it? You have to understand. So what we're talking about is, we're talking about 32 billion. That's essentially what we're talking about. It varies. Sometimes it goes up to 36 billion. Sometimes it might go down. Because at times in the past it has been as high as 36 billion. But if we assume it at the moment, the figures at the moment tell us it's around 32 billion. Alright? And what they gain out of that is, they gain, first of all, the very first thing they gain is the wages of the people. Because it's by far the biggest amount. There are 144,000 people employed in these foreign multinationals in Ireland, approximately. And the multinationals pay them approximately 7 billion in wages. So 7 billion is given over by the multinationals in wages to the Irish populace. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, they get 12.5% of the 32 billion, which approximates 4 billion. So the Irish state gets 7 plus 4, approximately 11 billion is put directly and indirectly back into the state by these multinationals. They take the rest of it out. So the 21 billion is taken back out and is now lying all over the world. They reckon that American multinationals have offshore between $3 and $4 trillion. Not out of Ireland, but all the countries that they do this with all over the world. And they do this in the Far East, and they do it everywhere. But it's a giant Ponzi scheme. And how it's allowed, how America, the Great Republic, allows it to exist, I don't know, but they do. They do. And this man Obama has done little or nothing to tackle it. This money is sitting offshore, and it's never taxed in America. Their personal wages and all are taxed in America. That's a different thing. As citizens, they're taxed in America. But as corporate entities, they're not. Because these corporations are offshore corporations. Or if they're based in America, I don't know how they wangle, but they do wangle so that they don't pay the money. The money is never repatriated back into America to be taxed in America. It's kept offshore, and that's it. Now, why is all this so important? I've gone on about it for years. You cannot run a society like that, because we are totally at the behest of these large multinational corporations who don't owe any allegiance to Ireland, any allegiance to Europe, any allegiance to anybody. They're only concerned about one thing, the bottom line. Now, at the moment, we have a major dilemma within Europe, and we cannot go to the money markets to borrow the money. We don't have our own money anymore. We have the euro. Okay? And what that means is that in future, our fiscal policy is going to be determined in places like Bonn and in Brussels, not here in Dublin. And not for one moment will these Germans or these French or these Austrians or these Finns or these Italians or whoever, it don't matter who they are not going to put up with us having a privileged situation where we can put out a low corporation tax and at the same time launder a load of money for foreign multinationals down in our financial services sector. They're not going to put up with that. So we have a major, major dilemma facing us. It's a tsunami, because if that 32 billion is seriously affected, and large numbers of those multinationals will, it will have a devastating effect on our economy. A devastating effect on our economy as a state. So I just want you to bear that in mind. That's the catch-22 situation that we're involved in Europe. And this is all because we got involved with Europe. If we didn't have the euro, none of this would affect us. We could do what we like in our society. We could lower the corporation tax more. Put it down to 10% if we wanted. We put it up, put it down, but at the moment we do not control our fiscal destiny. That is controlled in Germany and in France. Those are the two dominant countries in the Eurozone. And that's what's going to happen until we do one of two things. We either have fiscal unity, in which case the whole thing will have nothing to do with the whole thing, and it'll just be handed over, carte blanche to Germany, or we get out of the euro. And people say, listen, it would be terrible for 4 or 5 years, maybe less, but we would control our own destiny. We could devalue the pond and get back into working again for our own country. Because at the moment, I can assure you, we are just a tiny 1-bit player in a big, big game that's going on. And we have absolutely no control in any manner or means of what our future is going to be. That's all. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to talk about. That's it. We'll talk later. Bye.